Hello drama lovers, welcome back to this channel. That night was supposed to be just like any other. No crowds, no stage lights, no big events scheduled. But beneath that calmness, something unfolded, something that broke millions of hearts in an instant. It all began with a message that arrived without warning. A message that spread slowly, yet carried a weight that felt unbearable. Wang Yibo had been rushed to the ICU. In the middle of the night. Suddenly. Without any sign. And not long after, Xiao Zhan was seen arriving at the hospital, his face pale and his eyes glassy with fear. The world seemed to stop turning. No one was truly prepared to receive such news, especially the fans, who had always seen Wang Yibo as someone strong, unshakable. He never seemed tired, never complained. But the human body cannot lie. While everyone thought he was fine, something had been silently eroding him from within. And that night, it all collapsed, quietly. The ambulance arrived around 11:45 p.m. The siren didn't wail too loudly, but it was enough to cut through the stillness surrounding Yibo's residence. A few neighbors still awake that night caught a glimpse of a man being carried into the vehicle. His face was pale, his eyes shut. Oxygen tubes were already being attached. And one name passed quietly from the medical team, Wang Yibo. At the hospital, the atmosphere became even more tense. The ICU was cleared and prepared. Specialist doctors rushed in. There was no time for questions. The patient's condition was unstable. Oxygen had to be administered immediately. His heart rate had dropped. And in no time, the once vibrant figure was lying in the ICU bed, hooked to machines, surrounded by the hum of urgent life-saving efforts. Members of his management team arrived soon after. Their faces were stiff with worry. No one was willing to speak to the press. They only communicated in whispers and hurried phone calls. They knew it wouldn't be long before the media caught wind of this. But before the news went public, one figure walked through the hospital doors and silenced every heart in the room. Xiao Zhan. Wearing a black hoodie and a white mask that nearly concealed his whole face, he walked quickly down the hallway. He didn't respond to anyone. He didn't greet the nurses. He didn't say a word. Only his eyes, those tired, trembling eyes, spoke volumes. He paused before the ICU door. Head bowed. Silent. Then he sat on the floor. His hands covered his face. And in the stillness of that late hour, he cried. Some witnesses said they had never seen a celebrity cry so openly in public. But in that moment, status meant nothing. There was no stage, no spotlight. Just a man, possibly a best friend, or maybe something more, who was terrified of losing someone dear to him. Time passed slowly. 1 hour. 2 hours. No word came from inside the ICU. And Xiao Zhan remained seated on the same spot. Sometimes standing, approaching the door, then sitting back down. His phone sat unused in his hand. No scrolling. No messages. He had shut the outside world out. No manager by his side. No assistants. Just him, and the unbearable fear that clung to him like a shadow. At 3:20 a.m., a doctor stepped out from the ICU. Xiao Zhan rose immediately. No long discussion was needed. Just a brief nod. A deep breath of relief, barely audible. According to unofficial sources, Wang Yibo had passed the critical stage. But he remained very weak, under strict observation. By 5 a.m., the news had exploded across social media. And just as expected, the internet erupted. #Wang Yibo ICU climbed to the top of trending lists in multiple countries. Photos of Xiao Zhan crying in the hospital corridor went viral within minutes. At first, many dismissed it as a hoax. But when a brief statement was released by the hospital, the world believed this really happened. "I can't believe this is happening to Yibo. He always looked so strong," one fan wrote. "Seeing Von cry like that, I broke down too," another added. "I hope both of them are okay. This world is too harsh for two souls that gentle," another fan posted on Weibo. Within a single night, the fandom was transformed. No more arguments. No more fan wars. Only concern, prayer, and hope that Wang Yibo would recover, and Xiao Zhan could smile again. The days that followed were drenched in anxiety. The hospital where Yibo was being treated became a place of quiet pilgrimage. Fans came from various cities. They brought flowers, letters. Some simply sat outside the hospital gates, whispering prayers. They didn't ask for much. Just that Yibo would open his eyes and go home again. Through it all, Xiao Zhan remained. He refused interviews. Declined requests for statements. He posted nothing on social media. He was spotted only once, stepping out to a nearby convenience store for a snack. His face was still puffy. His steps, heavy. But he returned right after. He wouldn't leave. He couldn't. Their relationship had always been shrouded in mystery, speculated upon, misunderstood. But that night, on that cold hospital floor, the truth was clearer than ever. The bond between Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan wasn't scripted. Not fan service. Not PR. But something real. Something unspoken. That revealed itself in silent tears and unwavering presence. Now, Wang Yibo's condition is slowly improving. Though still confined to the ICU, he has begun responding with small gestures. Doctors have called it a small miracle. But to fans, it is the light they've been hoping for. Xiao Zhan remains there, not far from the ICU, waiting patiently, saying little. He knows the battle isn't over. But he also knows that as long as he stays, Yibo won't be alone. Drama lovers, this story is far from over. But in every moment, we're reminded that behind the glamour of the entertainment world, there are fragile souls. Who get sick, who cry, who fear. And sometimes, without saying anything, they show us what love truly looks like. Will this moment change how we view their connection? Will the world finally see another side of Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan? Or is this the beginning of a new chapter? Deeper, more sincere, more human? Tell us what you think in the comments. Were you also in tears that night? Did your heart ache seeing Zhan alone in that hallway? That's all for tonight's story. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next update on Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan. See you in the next episode. And as always, take care of your heart. Because sometimes, even the strongest ones can crumble without warning.